The Egyptian opposition has come together as a united force after 6 days of bloody anti-government riots. The ex-chief of the International Atomic Agency, Mohammed ElBaradei, is now negotiating on behalf of opposition groups. An internationally popular candidate, he's viewed as the man who could oust President Hosni Mubarak. Well, for more on this, let's cross live to RT's Paula Slier, who's in Cairo. Paula, what made Egyptians choose Mohammed ElBaradei as the man to challenge Hosni Mubarak's position?
Well, the appointment of Mohammed ElBaradei as the opposition leader here is an interesting choice because most Egyptians really don't know him. He has his fame much more on the international stage. Now, what is remarkable is that he's managed to bring together very opposing views here in Egypt, particularly referring here to the Muslim Brotherhood, which has been outlawed in Egypt for its extremist views. Now, ElBaradei is a secular man, and he will be a choice that very much will be supported by the United States and by other Western powers. He has in the past avoided direct confrontation with the Egyptian government, and at the same time he has been criticized by some for simply not being a good enough leader. What is interesting, though, is that he is calling for regime change, but he himself has not been in Egypt for the past 3 decades. He was the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency for some 11 years, and there he was criticized for the way he dealt with the Iranian nuclear issue. He was also criticized by some of his colleagues for being self-righteous and arrogant.
Now, it's been a week of uprising. The situation obviously remains tense in the country. What's happening now?
Well, a few minutes ago, the curfew went into effect, but like we saw yesterday and in previous days, this simply does not make any difference to protesters out on the streets, and they've been arriving by the thousands at Tahrir Square in downtown Cairo. Now, they are calling for a general strike. They're also calling for a 1 million-man march to begin tomorrow, Tuesday. And if they get the figures that they're anticipating they will get, the numbers that will turn out will be more than what we saw last Friday on the streets of Cairo during that day of rage. Now, some analysts fear that this could lead to violence and that the protests could escalate from tomorrow. Having said that, though, the army here is still very much in control. The police are nowhere to be seen, and the army, for their side, have been letting protesters in and out of Tahrir Square, but we have been hearing reports that they've set up barricades on the outskirts of the city to stop traffic from entering and leaving Cairo. We're also hearing reports of people desperately trying to find supermarkets where they can stock up on goods, but most businesses, if not all businesses, are closed here in downtown Cairo. Those businesses that have opened have been sold out within minutes. We're hearing that people have gone to ATMs to withdraw cash, and that all the ATMs that they've tried to access are simply out of money.
Paul, the whole world is watching as the political future of Egypt remains unclear. What do people in the country expect to happen next?
Well, in the last few hours, the Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak appointed a new interior minister. Now, he is a retired army general, and he has very much the backing, the background and the support of Mubarak, as have the other two appointments, that of the vice president and that of the prime minister in recent days. So Egyptians are not really in any way satisfied with what is being made on a government level. Mubarak also announcing his new cabinet, his new government, and most of the ministers there are the same. So with this kind of standoff showing neither side actually prepared to meet halfway, people here really are saying that it can only result in violence. It can only escalate in the coming hours and the coming days.
First, he sent in his army. Then he reshuffled the government. Next came the Air Force. People's voices here are loud, but they're being drowned out by F-16s and MiG-21s flying overhead. Mubarak is not going down without a fight.
Thank you, Mr. Obama. This is your friend. This is Hosni Mubarak. This is your friend.
And the American involvement reminiscent of earlier revolutions in Eastern Europe.
No question about it. What happened in Georgia with the Orange Revolution, or rather the Rose Revolution in Ukraine with the Orange Revolution, 2003-2004, was part of a long-term strategy orchestrated by the Pentagon, the State Department, and various U.S.-financed NGOs like Freedom House and National Endowment for Democracy.
And like those earlier revolutions, people mobilized around a common goal: Abdul Noor came all the way from Aswan to get rid of a dictator.
He tried to beat us with the police, he failed. He tried to beat us with army, he failed.
The Russians must help us. Ahmed Abbas is an engineer, qualified and jobless. But he says he can't find work because of corruption.
We can't find job. He paid to one inside the company 60,000 Egyptian pounds so he can work in the company.
And as a result, Europe beckons.
Most of people want to go to Italy, want to go to Greece, want to go to England. So people in Egypt want to leave this country because they are very frustrated and they are looking for better life, for better future.
And for Europe, that means mass immigration and the problems that come with it. May Korshed lives abroad, but got caught up in the violence on a trip back home.
I don't think I think there's enough momentum at the moment that people will just continue to just go out and protest until something is done. I think people are just fed up.
The casualties keep climbing. Young faces, victims of an aging regime. Mohammed ElBaradei was with his cousin when he was shot dead.
He took a bullet in his head, and the last word he said before he died, Tahya Masr. Is what meaning in English, may God protect Egypt forever.
But whether that protecting will be with or without President Mubarak is still unclear.
In the next 2 to 3 hours, it will get dark here in Cairo, and with the night time comes the fear, the uncertainty, the lawlessness. As a result, the ordinary citizens have been forming neighborhood watches to keep guard of their buildings, their apartments, and to protect them against gangs that are armed and that are patrolling the streets of Cairo.
All right, Paula Slier live from Cairo. She, of course, will continue to monitor the situation for us in the Egyptian capital.